Hi, everybody. Welcome to Our Sinclair. I'm John.
I'm Aaron, Jazz Hands Boat.
Aaron,
Yeah.
This evening we're going to be discussing carrier command.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
It's not what I thought it was.
I would like to know if you've ever been on an aircraft carrier.
I have. I have been on an aircraft carrier.
Tell me about it.
I'm trying to think which. I've been on an aircraft carrier and a destroyer. I'm trying to think which is which. I think the aircraft carrier.
Well, the aircraft carrier is the one that carries aircraft.
Well, I know which the difference of the boats. I'm trying to think which the names are different. I've been to a couple of different ones, but yes, I've been in an aircraft. It was awesome. Awesome and huge. The decks go on forever. The under part of this thing was amazing. Everything about it was super cool. Yeah.
If you were going to have a job on an aircraft carrier, what job would you want?
I should never have that. That should never be something I do because that would be the end of that. You don't want that. I'll tell you one thing. You can understand why people in the Navy are a special bunch, all right? And special men are selected. I'll tell you why, okay? There's a lot of walking and stair climbing and ladder climbing.
Yeah, ladder climbing.
Secondly, the places you go through, the doors, and also you can't be real huge. They're not built for big guys. Now, of course, the ones I were on are old, World War II era.
Yeah, back then people were like 5'4" max.
Right. And all the seating and stuff was not made for a large. And that's not like I'm some kind of huge girthy monster.
No, your average height for an American average girth.
Average height is not. I think I'm a little tall. I think
you're a tall man.
Oh, would you stop? But anyway, it was the job I would like to have would probably be whoever. I'd probably cook, maybe mailroom attendant, something like that. Something that's pretty much nondescript. You know.
I'd want the flag man.
The flag man.
Yeah, the guy that controls when the aircraft take off. They give him one of these, and they give him one of those.
But you have to know what that stuff means. You can't.
I don't know that they actually know what that means.
That's the way they communicate between ships.
Do you think they're actually that corresponds to anything, or do you think that they just do it just for, like a little show? It's like the last little bit of entertainment before the pilot takes off. You
know something I heard this week? It's funny. I just popped into my head. I believe, I'm trying to think with this gentleman, which ship he was on. There's a gentleman that's being honored. He's an African-American fellow, and he was at the Battle of Pearl Harbor, the attack at Pearl Harbor. Right. If you're not familiar with it, World War II.
December 7th, 1941.
Japanese attacked our fleet at Pearl Harbor.
The day before John Lennon was shot.
And blew a bunch of ships up. Anyway, crazy stuff. But here's something I didn't know. This is a sad state, but it's the way it was. This guy was an African-American. I think he was a cook on board one of the ships at Pearl Harbor, and he rushed up and got a gun and was shooting down planes, just shooting at the planes.
This is like something you do in Battlefield.
Here's the funny thing, though. It's not that funny.
Did he shoot down a plane?
African Americans weren't allowed to be in positions where they controlled firing weapons.
Yeah, this was before the integration.
So he wasn't even supposed to do it. And so it's taken all these years. They're going to finally name a ship after him.
Wow.
So that's kind of nice.
And
thank God we got past that.
He's still with us.
Oh, I don't know. I don't think so. No, I think it's posthumously done. But that's kind of neat. But yeah, to see the width and the size of these vessels, it's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable.
Have you ever been in any of these large ships?
I've never been on an aircraft carrier. My grandfather served on the USS Boxer in World War II. And it's amazing because the aircraft carriers then were massive, and now the ones that they have now are twice as massive.
Yeah.
I did read an article recently in The Economist about how the aircraft carriers have actually become a giant boondoggle for the U.S. Navy because everybody wants them, and they're massively expensive. And if any ever sink, it's the end of the era for the aircraft carrier. So these aircraft carriers are so expensive. They know that they cannot go into war zones, so they have to sort of be off to the side.
Well, aircraft carriers, they don't need to go to the war zone. That's the whole point.
No, that's the whole point.
None of the ships go to the war zone.
You launch off,
and this game is no different.
That's
Ironically, if you're smart, you keep your
you keep your distance.
Yeah, you keep your way out there. That's what you get the little flunky drone things for, to show you where to shoot.
Well, let's talk a little carrier command, Aaron.
Well, my usual disclaimer before we cover a game such as this.
You are an aircraft carrier expert and a strategy game
expert. And I think I can speak for you on this one. This game is so far beyond me that I can't begin to. This is why I don't like to ever say we do reviews, because that would be ludicrous statement. But we will give this game some coverage as best we can.
Sure.
So, Carrier Command. This came out in '89. boat.
Very late release.
Well
for
into the
Spectrum.
game.
Yeah.
In fact, this came out after the Amiga version. Published by Rainbird Software. I like that name.
Now, maybe you're going to answer this question, but this did not come on a cassette, right? Only disc, right?
I'm not sure exactly how it came. That's why I don't have it written down here.
Because I know all the
I never pay attention to that because they always come on tape.
All the instructions would not fit on a J card in this game. Trust me, as someone that's poured over the instruction file.
Well, I mean, they release cassette games with. In fact, this would. I'll tell you. I'll get to something. I think I can answer this question.
Okay.
So this was put out by an outfit called Real Time Games Software Limited. They were responsible for, I don't think we've played any of these games. Well, we have played one, but not on this machine. They were responsible for Argonautica, Battle Command, Star Fox, Star Glider, remember Star Glider? Star Strike 3D, Star Strike 2, and Tank Duel 3D. The fellows that worked on it were a fellow named Andrew Onions. What a name.
Yeah.
He did Star Strike 3D and Tank 3D. David Lowe, who worked on Buggy Blast, Power Drift, Rasputin, the Star Glider games, and Thrust. I like that one.
I like Thrust.
Derek Austin, he worked on the Star Wars games, Star Wars Empire Strikes Back, and Fighter Bomber. This was your 128K Spectrum. Now this one, is this the first game we've ever covered that used the mouse? On the Spectrum, I'm not sure. I don't think we've ever played any other games that used the mouse.
It's the first one that we've done that's used the mouse.
I had seen I'd seen the mouse option in the emulator I used, but I didn't. I'd always wondered what it was there for.
Right.
And so we found out. And I will say, believe it or not, my crap emulator used the mouse emulation worked just fine.
What crap emulator are you using right
I don't
now?
know I can't remember the name of it, to be honest with you. But there's two, but this time I used the crappiest one, but it worked. So what is this game? Okay, so this game is set in a this is the flavor text effectively. The game is in the near future where a team of scientists have developed two robotic this is the same old story. The scientists have developed two robotic aircraft carriers to colonize an arpeggio of 64 islands. Right?
Okay.
Never ever make robot military stuff.
It's always a bad idea.
Every time it happens, you get a hammering. So guess what happened? The more advanced carrier fell into the hands of a terrorist organization. I don't want to say who they are, but Cobra!
Yeah,
could be
that's
them.
right. And
they plan to conquer the archipelago for their own evil ends.
Now, stop. Yeah. Okay. Coolest bad guy organization name. Cobra?
Yeah.
Red Skull.
Red Skull is an organization?
Red Skeleton.
That's a guy, comedian.
Okay. Which of the three?
I would go with Cobra, yeah. The other ones aren't anything.
I thought that was Captain America.
No, Red Skull is a character, not an organization.
What was the Captain America guy?
Captain America is the superhero that fights Red Skull. The Avengers?
No, but so the organization wasn't called Red Skull?
No. Red Skull was a scientifically altered super Nazi.
Okay, well, tell me somebody else besides Cobra then.
It was Spectre.
Spectre, yeah, okay. Cobra versus Spectre.
You never have a bad guy organization named like Clown Boy. saying the initials mean something like, I don't know how you can work that, or like the Legion of Doom. Those are cool, but yeah, there's no lamer ones, but yeah. So anyway, your job is to go and take the less advanced carrier, because you get the dud, and you have to go and colonize the islands and then kill off the super good destroyer, the super cruiser, all right? Sounds simple, right? Well, it doesn't sound simple. It sounds hard,
simple.
And it is. So how do you accomplish this? Well, let me tell you this story from the Aaron perspective. So this game comes up to this screen, and we're looking at it now. If you're watching the video, it's a screen of it's like a Scrabble game from hell. Little yellow tiles, each with a picture that there's no conceivable way you can understand or decipher.
Oh yeah.
I mean, when this thing popped up, of course, I don't read any docs or anything when I first looked, and I knew instantly. I was like, okay. And I think someone in Discord uploaded the documentation, so I was like, what in God's name is this?
Mm-hmm.
And trust me, having the documentation didn't help me that much. But what you basically can do in this game, when you boil it down, you control this aircraft carrier, this super carrier. The carrier has lasers on it. All right, it's a tough carrier. It's got a self-repairing system. All right, and you also are armed with some, like, basically you've got drones that are different types of drones that you can use to basically help you figure out where to go, target stuff, etc. Which I'll get to that in a minute. So, but when this thing comes up, it's like, holy smokes. So just to get back to the overall game, this game uses a vector style graphics mode.
I think that's a kind way of calling it monochrome.
Well, I know it does this on most games. The exception is the C64 version, which does this from a top-down 2D viewpoint, which I didn't get to see.
Are you serious?
I swear to you.
Wow.
I didn't get to look at that. I thought that sounded cool. I did look at the Amiga version of this as well, and I know you did it as well. And the Amiga version is colorful, but it's better graphics, but it's not. It's mostly the same, really. I mean, for the didn't you think?
Well, yeah, it is essentially the same game for sure.
Now, get this, boat. I think this was kind of neat. The game featured a sample, which I never heard this. The song that comes up in this thing is pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
It comes up, you're like, oh, listen to that.
Mm-hmm.
So the game features a sampled theme by a fellow named Dave Lowe, and this was a full-blown studio-recorded song called "Just Another Mission."
Wow!
All right? And get this.
Where was the actual song?
Well,
released?
get this. I'm getting there.
Okay.
So remember when I remember Star Glider 2 that came with that audio cassette?
Yep.
This one had the same bit.
Wow.
Yeah, it had a tape. It has there's a version of this that has the second cassette on it that has the actual song.
Well, I know you bought Star Glider 2 for the cassette.
And also then I gifted Star Glider 2.
That's what you do.
After I played it.
You buy it and you gift it.
Well, I wanted to read the book. That's when I read it. And I was good to go. But I thought that was neat. Anytime you can get a tape that's got the song on it that comes with the game, kind of cool. So when you start this game, you've got two choices. Well, you got three. You got options, and this has quite a few options. You can now I never use the joy. I guess you can use the joystick as a mouse, but that sounds horrific. To even try that would be nonsense.
Yeah, I mean that brings me back to the bad old days of the Super Nintendo, where they had so many games where you're using the pad.
So I didn't even attempt to try not use the mouse. But it's got Kempston. I guess that's a Kempston mouse. I mean, it's
Kempston mouse. That's what it is.
Anyway, aside from options, you've got two other choices. You've got strategy and action. Now, this is one of those games where inherently, when I pick my first option, I look at the choices. I'm like, I'm going to go with the action one. That's a big mistake. Because the action one, so in strategy mode, you get one island, and the enemy has 8 islands, and the rest of the islands are up for grabs.
Right.
Okay? And the two carriers are at their own island. Okay? Now, the other carrier is better than you, can get to more islands quicker, so you're playing catch-up to the other guy.
Mm-hmm.
In action mode, each player possesses a network of islands. The enemy carrier has more than you, and you begin right near the center of the map, and so basically the other carrier can just run up on you and beat the crap out of you.
Or you can go right up on the other carrier and give them the old elbow.
You can't do that because you'll get mashed into a fine powder. So the first thing I did in this game was get blown up many times as I struggled and vain attempt to understand the controls. As we mentioned, there's a huge set of tiles that tell you what the various they just go to different menus of different things you can do. So I'm going to try to explain some of these tiles as best I can. You stop me when you hear me screw up. So amongst the things you can do from your main screen is you can go and outfit your various drones. Well, let me get the names of these drones. The Manta is
wait, what? No.
Yeah.
You're wrong already.
Yeah, you can.
No, the drones are not named Manta and Walrus. Those are not drones.
They're not drones. They're
your craft. Drones are different things.
Vehicles.
You never actually played this game, did you?
No, listen. They are drones.
No.
One's a walrus, but you man them.
You man them. That means they're not drones.
But it's the same thing.
It's your crafts.
They're extensions of your
The drone
ship.
is a different thing in this game.
I understand. They're extensions of your craft. Is my point. They're extensions of your craft. You control them. And when the mantas get out of range, the screen goes blurry and they drop out of the sky. I know what they are.
Okay.
So anyhow, getting back to this, you can go and outfit these items. You can outfit it with a couple different items. There's different types of missiles. There's some stuff that because once you capture an island, you also have to get it rolling.
We've got it. Yeah.
What was the first thing you did when you did? Because I watched the demo.
So the
first thing I did was I followed what the guy did, and that's what I did. I was always go in, take my craft. You could have I think you have up to 4 of these things, and you go in and outfit them and get them ready to go out and look around.
The first thing I did was I was like, okay, I got my craft. I got my aircraft carrier. I'm on the bow. I'm going to send out a Manta. Okay. The Manta is the flying craft.
So you outfitted it.
Okay. I outfitted it, and I was like, okay, click on the thing, boom, boom. I launched the Manta. The Manta, like the flying nun, takes off and then immediately crashes into the ocean. Yeah. Okay. The reason why this happens is because there are 2 different fuel gauges on the screen. Okay. Yes. You've got sort of like your general fuel gauge, and then you've got your individual Manta fuel gauge.
That's right. And you have to put fuel in it.
You got to put fuel in the Manta.
Well, you were just killing me for not knowing what I was doing. I didn't do that.
Otherwise, you'll launch it. It will fly into the air for the briefest of seconds and then crash.
Now tell them the other thing with the Manta that makes them hard to use.
Well, there's lots of things.
Well, the one thing that used to, if you go too far away,
it would just keep going.
It just crashes. No, because the screen goes fuzzy and it just goes away.
Here's the thing. You have an option to have these craft be automatically controlled.
Yeah, with the A.
Right. Yeah. You can click on the joystick icon to give you joystick controls.
Yeah.
Or actually, basically, it turns it into almost like a star glider.
Yeah.
Where you're controlling with the mouse. Yeah. And once you are
That's
flying...
where that... I was like, man, this is familiar. That's what it is.
Right.
That's why I didn't add 2 and 2, yeah.
Right. Once you're flying around, you can... you're supposed to target various things on the island and blow them up and things like that. I was never able to actually successfily do anything.
I blew stuff up.
Were you able to blow stuff up? Yeah. Okay, I was able to target things and kind of fire away, but I was able. So you were really more successful at this game than I was.
That's impossible. You just told me I didn't even play it. Now you're saying, "Well, you're better at it than me."
Well, it was when you called the Manta a drone.
The Manta is a drone.
It's not a drone. You're in there in the cockpit.
You're not in it because listen, what did you do? The first thing you did with the Manta, what did you do to it?
I crashed it.
Now, if you were in the Manta, you would be dead. So clearly, you weren't in it.
That's a fair point.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Fool. So these 2 things are basically what you use to go out and try to, you can target with the Manta, and then the other thing, the walrus, is helpful to like basically do stuff on the islands because it's an amphibious craft. All right. Now, there are details with these things that I can't give you. I can't tell you the variety of weapons. I can't tell you exactly all the things you can do with them because I don't know enough about it.
Let's talk a little bit about how you outfit them.
Yeah, because it's not easy.
Yeah, you go into there's a screen where you actually go into the it's almost like you're going below decks in the aircraft carrier. And there is a menu where you can select various weapons for the craft. And there are some weapons that you can only put in the front. There are some weapons you can only put in the rear.
Right.
And so basically the way that I did this was I just kind of went around and I found things that had a cool picture. And I would put those into the craft.
That explains a lot. So you were probably putting things in that couldn't do any damage, for example.
So that might have been part of the reason why I was unable to actually destroy anything on the island. But you do have a wide variety. And this is one of the things that I appreciate about this game is that you don't have to buy anything at the beginning. You don't have to like make your loadout. Everything is already set for you, and you make the choices from there. So we talked about the Manta. Why don't we take a little bit of time and talk about the other kind of craft that you can use in this game?
The walrus.
The land-based craft. Yeah, the walrus. I guess the walrus is sort of an amphibious craft.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah.
It launches into the ocean, but the walrus can actually crawl onto land. I'm not sure if you are able... does it have, do you think, tank treads? You think that's...
One would assume it's just like a normal... I don't know. Listen, it could be one of those boat cars.
Yeah, like the duck boat.
It could be a boat-o car.
I took one of those over in Boston.
You know, those things are pretty much getting banned everywhere because they're killing people.
Yeah, they kill people.
Yeah.
Thousands of people.
I'm assuming it's just more like, I pictured more of an amphibious craft, like a World War II type of a thing. You know?
Yeah. So the walrus you man the same way. And I found the walrus much more easy to control, of course, because it doesn't fly up in the air. Now, what's interesting is that whenever we watched, I think we probably both watched the same Let's Play of this. The first thing that the person does when he's playing in strategy mode is he immediately destroys his backup walruses and his backup mantas, so he only has one walrus and one manta. And he says because what that allows you to do is it allows you to maneuver much better because you have so much less weight. And then you can go and you can blow up the other carrier more quickly.
I never did any of that.
I never did that either. That seemed crazy to me.
I saw him doing that.
That you would,
like, no.
that you would get rid of all that stuff. So when I played this game, I only played it in action mode.
Okay.
I like the feeling of being right in the thick of things right away.
Did you know the difference?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because in strategy mode, you start out and you've got to really play a long time before you even encounter another player.
Right. I like that because I didn't know what I was doing, so I needed time to figure out what was happening.
Okay.
But go ahead.
But anyway, so when I played this, I always played it in action mode, and I read a strategy where somebody actually was able to instead of just trying to capture the islands and eventually destroy the enemy tanker, they were able to basically maneuver through the islands, locate the enemy tanker, destroy him, and then work their way back up through the backside, taking over the islands and not having to worry about the enemy destroyer. Was that a strategy you employed?
My strategy was like click button, pray for help. That was not anywhere. I didn't get anywhere near good enough just to get into where I could have a strategy. Once I figured out what to do, that was a big help. I mean, I was trying to send stuff out the islands. I think I was capturing islands. I was putting stuff on them, so I assumed that meant they were mine, but I'm not even sure about that. So your ship as a whole, if you should actually get your ship into a combat area, I mentioned that it had lasers. It's also got a repair system. It's kind of neat the way it works, and I did experience this unfortunately right before I sank most of the time. But your repair system on the ship will repair stuff that happens on your boat, and depending on where you get shot, it depends on what damage is done.
And the repair system, it sort of launches automatically.
It can you can even get hit in the repair system, and then it has to repair itself. The only thing it can't repair is basically the bulkhead of the ship, the actual structure of the ship. Yeah, because once that's gone, you're done. Of course, you could have. I think I read you could have up to 8 walruses and mantas, but you can only use 4. This is where I was losing track of what I was doing. I would do one thing at a time, try my best. But the mantises, I don't think I ever successfully landed one. I think they all got killed.
Well, what you do is you know, after you accomplish your mission, you immediately go back to autopilot and you click the button that says return to base.
Yeah.
You're not landing this thing back on the carrier.
Yeah, I never got any of that stuff. So I should mention, by the way, that your ship is the ACC Epsilon and your opponent is the ACC Omega.
Really?
So it did get the better name in that department.
It's a shame that they didn't, name your ship something cooler.
Yeah. I mentioned that your mantas, after you lose contact, and in the walrus, if you lose contact with them, I read, which I didn't know this, but you can actually dispatch a communications item on your ships, on your little drones, and they can take it out and they can extend how far you could actually fly around, which would be cool.
Now
I never tried that.
You keep talking about drones, but you haven't mentioned the actual drones that are on your ship.
What do you mean the actual drones?
So there are actual things called drones on your ship, and you launch these things, and they protect you from incoming mantas and walrus attacks.
See, I don't think I ever launched those.
Yeah,
because I got instantly murdered.
You've got to do that, or else you're going to get instantly murdered.
I didn't do it. I never did it.
Okay.
You see, there's the shortcomings of this. This game was well over my ability to understand for the most part, but I gave it the college try. I did think, getting back to the graphics. It's not pretty, but I mean, the wireframe sort of look to it does work. It sort of works.
It doesn't really work.
It's not the best, but I mean,
this is a case study in how one can use sort of like a cross hatching and all of the things that you learned in a middle school art class to kind of give you a sense of like what is land, what is water, what is a solid object.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, your brain just sort of rejects it all and just says, what are we doing here? Why are we not playing the Amiga version?
Well,
this was, really a game I admire for given that, the old college try on the Spectrum. But it's really not an enjoyable experience. Not because the interface is bad. The interface is fine. It's just the monochromatic depiction of all of these different things. It's just blue until the cows come home, and whenever you're looking at various things, you have to just constantly tell your brain, okay, well, this is the thing that is supposed to represent this thing. And maybe it's because I learned most of what I learned about this game from watching somebody play the Amiga version. But it was really, really difficult for me to get any kind of enjoyment out of the ZX Spectrum version after seeing it. Maybe if I would have seen this on the Spectrum first and then gone over, but it's very, very sparse. It's very sparse. Now, on the upside, when you're flying the Manta and when you're piloting the Walrus, it's very smooth, and I thought that the mouse control was actually quite good. This was my first time, just like Aaron, using the mouse on the Spectrum, and I thought it was very responsive. I'm not sure, how widespread the mouse was in terms of peripherals on the Spectrum, how many people had them, but using the PC mouse through Spectaculator, it worked quite well. So I was pleased with that, and I was pleased with the UI, but just, I don't know. This just seems like a step too far for me. This is really where, if you want to play a game like Carrier Command, maybe it's time to shell out the money for a 16-bit system.
I'm going to disagree with you on this.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why. And listen, because this isn't my sort of game, or I don't have the aptitude to succeed at it, what they've done here is, I think, is quite remarkable. I don't like, and we get this a lot playing a lot of European stuff where they don't have any actual words on the screen, or they just have lots of buttons. Mm-hmm. And I can take this in small doses. Even Hook was that way. Mm-hmm. But all that said, this game, there's a lot to it, and that's its strength as well as its weakness. There's a lot to it, but if this is your type of game, I think they've done a pretty good job in putting together a pretty large, expansive game with that requires a lot of strategy and thought. That I think it delivers well enough on the graphics to where it's playable. I mean, if you think of just the guts that port something like this to the Spectrum is gutsy. It shows
that even in '88 there were still. You said that this came out in '89, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe my date is wrong. There was still such a user base of the ZX Spectrum in '89 that this was worth putting the effort into porting over.
I mean, think about here's the other systems this was released on, okay, to put it in perspective. We mentioned the Amiga, the Atari ST and DOS, okay, Amstrad, the C64, and which did a different version, mind you, and the Mac, okay? So you talk about batting well out of your weight class here, out of your batting average. The Spectrum is, and of course, like I said, the C64, they didn't even try this on the C64. Right. Not to bury the 64, but they didn't even give this a shot.
They knew the Spectrum was the only 8-bit machine.
Well, the Spectrum they had a plan.
Right. Here's the thing. The Spectrum fans, people that owned a Spectrum, were well accustomed to having sort of monochrome gaming experiences. C64 people were not that way. They were used to having full color things. And the thing is, the C64 couldn't handle this in full color. They'd have to make it just like this to get it to run on the C64.
I would wonder if part of the reason that they didn't use this on the 64 is because of the memory restraints.
Right. Because this is a 128K game.
I would say that. I would not be surprised, because there's a lot going on here. And trust me when I tell you this, and I mentioned at the top of this look at this game, there's so much stuff that I had no idea. I mean, you can do stuff like launch flares. There's all the stuff about outfitting your various items that you can do and retrofitting them, and you can make more. The stuff about actually taking over the island. There's all kinds. There's a wealth of things.
Right.
I don't want anyone to think that this is a full-fledged, because there's so much stuff that I just looked at in the docs. I was like, holy smokes. And is this the best interface? Maybe, because this is sort of the interface they use on all the other machines. Is it the most colorful? No, but I mean the
interface is pretty close to what is on the Amiga.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's my point. I mean, this was pretty much the interface, and so I think this is quite an achievement on the Spectrum. But it's not a game I would have played on any system, Spectrum, Amiga, anything. It's just not my type of game. Too much for me to keep track of. But A for effort on in that department. I did look up how this did. This got an 8.13 score on World of Spectrum, a very good score.
Yeah, it is a very good score.
the reviews for this were off the charts. This is one of the highest reviewed games we ever have played. Crash gave this a 96. They said it was the best seafaring game ever.
The best seafaring game ever.
Sinclair user gave this a 96. They said it was a masterful piece of programming, one of the finest products I've ever seen on the spectrum. A game on par with Elite.
Okay.
All right. The Games Machine gave this a 94. And they said, well-defined, neatly shaded, solid 3D objects, faultless presentation and gameplay, which betters its 16-bit counterparts. And this was something I read, that this had improvements over the other 16-bit version.
I'm not an expert on the 16-bit version. Maybe they're right.
Yeah. Your Sinclair gave this a 92. They said it was astonishingly brilliant stuff. Ace gave this a very solid score as well. It also won the Crash, Smash, the usual stuff.
Mm-hmm.
This thing was well regarded. I don't think we've had a game that was this well regarded. So, is it great? You'd have to tell me. It's above me, but it got very good scores. I did look this up on eBay, and actually the money for this is all over the net, but I'll let you read our reviews first.
Okay. Let's see.
We got a couple. People braved it.
Yeah.
One guy.
Yeah. The one and only Chris Foltz.
I know Graham was in transit this week, I think. So
yeah, we had a couple people coming in from Amiga Ireland. So Chris Foltz says, I have fond memories of this from the Amiga. I loved exploring in what was for the time an impressive 3D world. The Spectrum version is an incredible feat of software. However, it suffers a lot. If you don't have a Kempston mouse, forget about it. The controls are horrible. However, without the cool color 3D, the core of the game has become more exposed, revealing all its flaws and nuances. I feel they were too busy seeing if they could. They never thought if they should. 5 out of 10.
Something tells me that this game would suffer that sort of look on most systems now. I think the interface on this is ancient. It reminds me of the games that the way they used to be. They were difficult games.
Mm-hmm.
They were not, and it's easier to make a more approachable setup for this now. Again, I looked up on eBay. You can get the game for I saw it going anywhere from $26 to $55. I did see sealed copies going as well. So if I saw at least one. So if that's your bag. This did get a sequel, by the way, called Battle Command, which I didn't even come close to looking at.
Oh, gosh.
It's like, get out while the getting's good. But overall, this is one. I hate games like this, and not just because I don't like them. It's because I wish I was better at them. That's what bugs me. I'm just, when I sit here and say that I gave this a whirl, I labored on this thing I played this more than I did the Amiga game this week, and not because I wanted to, it's because I was trying to have something so when I got here, I wouldn't sound like a blubbering fool. It was hard to get a grip on what I was doing. And it's one of those games you must read the documentation, and a strategy guide.
And this is something that, back in the day when you received a manual, you would pore over all of it. Not only the mechanics of the game itself, but the flavor text. And this is one of these games that gives you the full history of the aircraft carrier and all its antecedents. And when you're poring over this as a text file on the internet, some of that is lost. And you really just want to get down to the meat of what do I need to do in this game to be successful? And I felt like if I would have had the actual manual itself versus just looking at the text file, maybe I would have been able to absorb more of it more quickly. But at its root, this game is capture the flag. You've got 2 aircraft carriers on opposite sides of the map at the beginning, if you're playing the strategy mode, and you're basically just trying to capture each other's islands. You're trying to capture all the islands and eventually destroy the other carrier. That's the meat of the game. If you go into action mode, it basically just gives you more islands, and you're facing off. You're closer to the carrier when you start.
Yeah, it was something. It does remind me of those games where you get that manual and you take it to school with you, take it to Cannes or whatever, and you're like, oh boy, I can't wait to give this thing a whirl.
Yeah.
So yeah,
and that's the way it was. Back in the day, you only get a couple games a year. You're gonna pour over this.
This reminded me when I bought Armageddon for the Amiga. Very similar. I was like, this looks great. I'll read the book, and I knew the second I picked the manual up, I was like, oh, I'm screwed.
Yeah.
And screwed I was.
Absolutely. Well, we want to thank our supporters. First of all, we want to thank Spence for choosing this game this week, a member of the Clives Club. And we want to thank all our Spectrum supporters. We got Hermsky, Andrew Waite, David Spencer, Captain Crispy, Laurent Giroux, Gary Heather, Eric Nelson, Harbonaut, Graham Vebke, Frodo NL, Tapes from the Crypt, Pixels at Dawn, Chris Folds, Boss Man, Paul Harrington, and Christopher Hassall. Thank you so much. And if you guys enjoy Our Sinclair and you're not yet a supporter, please visit our page at patreon.com/Our Sinclair. Also want to thank everybody over in the chat. It's been a lively, hopping chat this evening. We got Brock 101 here, Picard 2010, Edvin Helen, Funkle Drunkle. Not really sure how to pronounce that.
You're stealing your gimmick.
Yeah. L. Curtis B. Go Sub, Edvin Helen ensconced in the man cave. And of course, our mod among men, Pixels at Dawn Gaming. Thank you so much for being with us. We do record the show live every Friday at 5:30 Eastern. We'd love for you to join us live in the chat, if you can, over at twitch.tv/Amigos Retro Gaming. Aaron, next week we're going to be playing The Great Escape.
Now see, it's funny. This one I'd heard of a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. This was suggested by Clive's Club member Graham W. Vebke.
This is based on the film.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
I said yes, but I don't know.
I think it's the one I'm thinking of.
Is The Great Escape a train film?
No, this is a escaping from a prison camp film.
Oh.
Doot doot. You never seen that movie?
Mm-mm.
It's good.
Did it start with toot toot?
Yeah. But hey, look, people seem to think it's a good game. I remember reading about this way before we even started the show, so that'll be great. I've never got to play this.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys. Well, thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week. Until then, rewind tape
and press play.